In The Empire Strikes Back, Han Solo is frozen in carbonite, and whilst the dialogue between characters makes it seem like this is the first time a living being has gone through carbon freezing, later material disputes this. We know that Anakin comes up with the idea in Clone Wars of having a squad of clone troopers freeze themselves to get past a separatist blockade, and in further Legends novels it is stated that before hyperspace travel was invented, carbon freezing was used for hibernation when travelling long distances. Now, ignoring these slight continuity issues, let's look at the freezing process in more detail and why being placed in carbonite is actually a living hell. Carbon freezing was a process where liquid carbonite was pumped into a chamber and flash frozen, encasing whatever material was also in the chamber with it. This had many uses, but in the case of Cloud City, they used their facility to freeze Tabana gas, which was mined nearby. As the carbon freezing chamber they used was described as being crude, this presented the risk that the process could kill a living being, hence why they wanted to test it on Han Solo before Luke Skywalker arrived. And alas, the test was successful and Han Solo becomes a living wall decoration. However, it's his testimony after he's released that brings about the true horrifying experience that being frozen in carbonite truly is. In the Return of the Jedi novelization, as the group are returning to the Millennium Falcon after escaping Jabba the Hutt, Han thanks Luke for rescuing him. "Thanks for coming after me, Luke," Han says. Luke then responds with, "Think nothing of it. No, I'm thinking a lot about it. That carbon freeze was the closest thing to dead there is, and it wasn't just sleeping, it was a big, wide awake nothing." For anyone who has suffered with sleep paralysis, you can sympathise with just how horrific that must have been. Unable to move, unable to control your own breathing, stuck in an eternal waking slumber. Dark, silent, with only your own thoughts to keep you company. It would be enough to drive a person insane. How Han survived a full year in carbonite is a miracle, but imagine how much longer he could have been there. From the description of carbon freezing, it appears to freeze the body's aging process, so as long as the power source remained active, you could be in that living nightmare for thousands of years. That is a fate worse than death. Now, aside from this detailing Han's experience in the carbonite, it's also used to describe how he feels indebted to the rebellion and realises that loyalty to his friends means more than money and rewards, which is a really great way of showing his character development. Now, carbon freezing has also been depicted in Disney-era Star Wars. The Mandalorian used carbon freezing to transport his bounties, and in the Outlaws game, Surat Nuat has his own brother encased in carbonite. But it's not clear if they've carried over those same experiences into the new canon. It certainly would put questions on using carbon freezing as a method of hibernation or transportation, because I think it would be considered something akin to torture. So that is why being frozen in carbonite could well be a fate worse than death. However, I don't believe it's the worst fate you could experience. I may well make a video on Draper's oubliette, which is a similar device, but far, far worse.